Hello everyone, welcome again to our YouTube channel IELTS by Neil. Today we are going to discuss one of the very important topic for IELTS Writing Task 1 Academic, which is mixed chart. Okay, we also call it double infographic. So you must have done the pie charts or the bar graphs, So when there are two pictures in one question, it is called mixed chart, okay, or double infographic, because there are two pictures. Infographic is just that any picture giving any information or the data, that is called infographic, right? So whenever there are two pictures with the data, it is called double infographic, or you can say mixed chart. Okay, so we're going to cover how to write a mixed chart. If you get a mixed chart in the task 1 academic, how to write it and what are the things that you have to be careful of. Okay, so let's move on to the types of writing task 1. So as you know, we have around 6 types of writing task 1, which are line graph, bar graph, pie chart, table, maps, and flow chart or process. We have made a dedicated video on each of them. Okay, I'll leave the link in the description below. Please go and have a look. So whenever there is a mix of line graph or plus pie chart, or line graph plus can be table, okay, or line graph plus bar graph, or table plus pie chart. So basically what I'm trying to say here, mixture of any of these two, we call it a mixed chart. Okay, and we're gonna see that how we have to write this, just in case if we get in the exam, because the mixed charts are very popular these days in the exams. So again, let's start with the structure first. So as you know, structure for all the IELTS writing task 1 will always be the same. As I have always told you in the previous videos, the structure will always be the same. It will be introduction, overall, and first or second or even third body paragraph if you want to make it. If the data is too much, you can decide. So again, in the introduction, you will just paraphrase the question. Okay, keeping in mind that the meaning of the question should be the same. Like, meaning should not change. You just have to change some words. That is called paraphrase. Okay, meaning should be the same, right? Next one is general or overall statement, in which you have to write general views or main features. Okay, and body paragraph depend on the data. So if the data is given, you can divide it into 2 halves or 3 halves. Okay, and if you're dividing 2 halves, you can write 2 body paragraphs. If you're dividing into 3 halves, you can write 3 body paragraphs. Okay, there's no such rule that you have to make 2 or 3 paragraphs in the body paragraph. It's up to you, whatever you are comfortable with. Okay, now before we move on, let's first try to have a look at a mixed chart. So for example, this is our mixed chart for today. So if you will have a look here, this is the question statement, and what we have to do, if you read here, the graph shows the figures related to the hours worked. So graph shows figures related to the hours worked. Okay, and stress level amongst the professional in 8 groups, and this is the stress level. Now if we get just one picture, for example, if this one graph, if we get it right, we know we just have to write introduction, overall, and body paragraphs. Okay, but in this case we have 2, so how do we have to write? In this case, they will be like 2 introduction, 2 overall, and body paragraphs would be depending on you, like, you know, if the data is too much, you can make 3, 2, or whatever. Okay, normally what we do is we make 1 body paragraph for each of the infographic or each of the chart. Okay, so you can make 1 for this and 1 for this, right? Now, by 2 introduction, I do not mean that you have to make 2 paragraphs. No, what you have to do is you just have to write 2 sentences, okay, in just 1 paragraph, or you have to talk about both of these charts. So you cannot do like you talked about this but you left this in the introduction or in the overall. So in all the parts of questions, for example, introduction, overall, or body paragraphs, both the charts are equally important. Okay, so you have to make sure that you are talking about both in introduction, body paragraphs, and of course the overall statement. If you have a look here at this picture, this is the question statement and we just have to paraphrase this one, right? So it says the graph shows the figures relating to hours worked, so number of hours weekly they have worked, these professionals like writers, doctors, chefs, lecturers, lawyers, and all these are right. And this pie chart is showing the stress level for the same professionals: writers, lawyers, doctors, movie producers, chefs, programmers, lecturers, businessmen. Okay, so what I've done is I have written 1 statement for each of these charts. For example, given bar graph, sorry, this is a bar graph, indicates the number of hours done every week by 8 professional categories. Number of hours done means number of hours worked by 8 professional categories. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 categories are these. Okay, right. While the pie chart provides the information, so I'm talking about pie chart now, coming to the bottom, provides the information about the percentage of the workforce suffering from stress-related illness. Percentage of workforce, so this all givers, all figures are given in percentage. Workforce means working population or working professionals. Okay, in the various professions given, means whatever the professions are given here, the stress is shown here, right? So basically what I've done is I have just written 1 statement for each of the chart, okay, to make our introduction complete. You have to make sure that you do not leave any of the chart unattempted, because both are equally important. Okay, so introduction is clear to you. Now let's move on to the overall statement. So overall, as I told you, you know, we have to see the main features. So main features, you can see the highest or lowest. Okay, or if something is increasing or decreasing drastically. Okay, so for this one, if you could have a look, the highest number of hours are worked by businessmen, okay, and the lowest number are from lecturers, right? And if you look at the stress level, the highest level of stress was for lecturers and the lowest level of stress was for programmers. Okay, now let's see how the overall statement will be like. So if you have a look here, overall statement says it is evident that businessmen spent the highest number of hours at work, means this one, right? So this is the main feature. Whereas means I'm going to talk something opposite. Lecturers worked for the least amount of hours. So these lecturers here, they worked for the least amount of hours, right? So these are the main features for the first chart. And now let's have a look at the second chart. Having a look at pie graph, lecturers had the most stress related illnesses. This 25% is the highest, and this goes to the lecturers, right? even though they worked for small number of hours. So although the lecturers had very small number of hours at work, still they were suffering from the maximum stress related illness, right? So this is the main feature for the second chart. So what I have done is I have written one for this chart and another main feature for this chart. Okay, however, the paragraph will be just one, but you have to make sure that you provide the information for both the charts, right? Now coming on to the body paragraph. So what do we have to do in the body paragraphs? Again, as I told you, that you have to write one body paragraph for each of the chart. For example, this is the first body paragraph. This is dedicated to the first chart. So if you have a look here, to begin with, the bar graph shows that businessmen work the most hours for 70 hours per week. This is here, followed by the movie producers at around 62 hours weekly. Movie producer, this one. So these two are done. After that, moreover, it's a link word here. See, time spent at work by programmers and lawyers was almost the same. Now programmers and lawyers. So if you have a look at this one with this one, this is almost the same, right? So we can say almost the same. May not be the exactly same, but almost the same. So it works out, right? Now, next sentence from here, again a link word. However, lecturers and chefs worked for shortest period in a week, which was below 30 hours per week. Lecturers and chefs, this one here, and they worked actually, if you have a look, below 30 hours. Okay, so then they were the shortest working professionals. Okay, now additionally, writer and doctors did around 45 and 50 hours respectively during the week. So writers and doctors 45 and 50, right? So we have covered all of the data, right? And in just one paragraph. Okay, so first paragraph we just dedicated to the first picture. Now let's move on to the second paragraph, in which we're going to cover the second one, the pie chart, right? So if you have a look at this pie chart now, it says the pie chart illustrates that lecturers had the highest number of stress related illnesses, which accounted for a quarter of the total. So what is quarter? Quarter is 25% of the total. Okay, total is 100%, so quarter will be 25%. So rather than writing a numeric value, I've just said the quarter of the total, right? Furthermore, movie producers and the doctors were at the second place with value of 18% and 15% respectively. Means movie producers were at 18%, doctors were at 15%, right? However, again a link word, see a link word here, writer and lawyers shared the same amount of stress level. Same amount of stress diseases for 8% each. Means writer and lawyers, they had 8% each stress level. Okay, which was 2% less than the chefs. So lawyers and writers had 8% and 2% less than the chef. Means chefs had 10%, right? So indirectly we have covered the chefs also. Okay, surprisingly, again a link word, the lowest rate of stress was attributed to programmers at only 5%. Means the programmers had the least amount of stress at 5% here, which was almost the half of the business. So if you look at the businessmen, 11%, programmers 5%, almost the half. So yes, it is almost the half, not exactly, but yes, almost. Okay, so this is what you have to do for the mixed chart. Mixed chart, always remember that introduction, you have to talk about both. Overall statement, you have to talk about both. Body paragraph, you have to make one each. Okay, if you get 3 pictures, make 3 body paragraphs. If you get 2 pictures, make 2 body paragraphs. Okay, very important. Okay, I hope this mix chart is clear to you. If you have any questions related to this, please do let us know in the comment section below. Thank you so much for your time. Have a fantastic day.